The segmenting principle refers to the way you can organize your content into small digestible bits of information rather than presenting as one long stream. Imagine that you have a presentation that has multiple topics and subtopics. For the sake of this example, we will have only two parts or two topics and one slide for each topic. But you could very well imagine that there could be many slides on each of the topics and subtopics. As you can see here, we have three slides, the agenda slide with the two bullets showing the two parts, slide for part one, and a slide for part two. While you may label the start of each topic with the appropriate header, like part one or part two, once you start going deep into your presentation with multiple sub-slides, the viewer may lose track of where they are in the grand scheme of the whole presentation. To combat this, you can create a navigation bar that automatically keeps track of where you are in the presentation and shares that information with the viewer in a visual way. To do this, we will use two rectangles to indicate the two parts with different colors and a little triangle which will be like a needle that will move from one rectangle to the other as you navigate from part one to part two. And we will use the morph transition to move that triangle or the slider from one rectangle to the next. To do this, let's start by drawing two rectangles, which would be about the same size, and then draw the triangle. So you go to Insert, Shape, and choose a rectangle shape. And if you want to have your rectangles on the navigation bar on the right side, you would draw it here, and then you would copy and paste it and just put it underneath right there. And now you could color the other rectangle a different color, and now you have two rectangles. Now you want to insert a triangle in here, which will be the slider. You can put that over here and just draw the shape. You could make it as big or small as you want. And obviously you want to probably rotate it so it looks more like a slider or a needle or an indicator. And also change the color of this to something that would stand out differently from the other two rectangles. Now what you want to do is you copy these three shapes and put them also on the next slide by doing Control-C and Control-V. But for the next slide, what you want to do is move the needle or the triangle down to the middle of the next rectangle. Now you're pretty much in shape to do the morph. And what you want to do is click on the third slide, go to Transition, and click Morph. And that pretty much, when you run the slideshow, when you go from the second to the third slide, from part one to part two, you will have a needle or a slider that'll move to the next part. You can also, if you want, label the two parts with text. And if you wanted to do that, you would do that before you copied to the next one. But just for the sake of a demonstration, you could call this part one. And obviously, that doesn't look like the way you want to. What you want to do is rotate the text so it's more vertically aligned. And you can do that by going here, and then you can look at the text, rotate it by 90 degrees, maybe make it a little bit bigger, and now you have your text labeled part one. You could do the same with part two. Copy these three shapes onto the next slide and to each of the slides, And then every time you move from one topic or subtopic to the next, make sure you morph the next slide using transitions to move the slider to the appropriate part of the navigation bar.